So I would like to welcome you to an interactive introduction to empathy and emotional intelligence. Today's session is part 1 of 4, and this series was put forth by Dr. Michael Schwab and Dr. LaToya Johnson. It's their brains behind this, and Dr. Michael Schwab also created the feeling cards. So hopefully you all have received those by now. We will be using those. As you can see, we also have other group moderators on the line. We have Dr. Nicoletta Alexander, Dr. Judith Blakely, Dr. Tom Bukowitz, Dr. Ann Hacker, Dr. Belinda McFetters, Dr. Jane Shaw, Dr. Stacy Wall, and Casey Waltz. Wow, I need to take a breath. Some fabulous folks on the line. So at this point, I am going to turn things over to our main presenters. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. And hi there, everyone. I'm Michael, and LaToya, you're going to say hi. Where are you?
Hi, I'm Dr. LaToya Johnson. I am part of student success, so staff here, and I'm part of my focus in my research interest is emotional intelligence. So I always try and love the opportunity to jump into to talk about it and to help others know more about it. So I'm glad to be here today.
Great. Hi.
How about you, Michael?
Thanks, LaToya. LaToya is a student advisor or student success advisor, we say now. So you must already be pretty hip with emotional intelligence, I would think.
Yeah, we do. I do feel like it's part of the, it should be part of the job responsibilities is to understand emotional intelligence because you deal with a lot of different emotions from your colleagues as well as the students that we support every day. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, would you tell us, you jump into the slides and will you tell us about today's module?
Absolutely. So if we could go to the slide.
The slide.
Yes, just one moment.
Oh, it's great to see all these faces. Everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for showing up on camera.
So today's, the series that we're doing obviously is on emotional intelligence. And today we're going to be discussing emotional literacy. And then every Thursday for the next 3 Thursdays after this, we will be doing the module 2 on self-awareness and module 3, self-regulation. And then also we'll wrap it up with social awareness and empathy. As you can see, we're just, learning to recognize emotions, understand what our emotions and attitudes are, and then also how that impacts others or how we see, how we interact with others and how those emotions come out. And then just be compassionate about sensing what others are feeling and also our own.
Okay, great. So next slide, please, Lida. Module 1, very briefly, we're going to look again at what emotions are and what emotional intelligence is. Look at emotional literacy, really the words that we use and the ways that we use them across cultures. A little on the function and meanings and diversity of emotion. Our exercises deal quite a bit with diversity. And we'll say a little bit about this training, which is, as if you watch the video, you will know, is a pilot project. And we want to learn from you along the way. So there's an evaluation, and please do give us feedback, what you like, what you don't like, and how we could do it better. Next slide, please, Lida. So, emotions, this picture here, it's intermediary metabolism. If anyone here has studied physiology, you probably will have seen this chart, and it's really a simplification of the huge complexity that goes on all the time in our bodies as proteins, other molecules, hormones, enzymes whiz about interacting in a mind-boggling complexity that is all somehow coordinated. Emotions are a part of this. Emotions also are subject to all the elements of metabolism. They are complex body-mind events. They are to sensory stimuli. And the little video that you had as your pre-training work describes that, how everything that we sense is appraised within our nervous system and leads to a action tendency and to behavior. A bit more on that later. Emotions are layered and combined. There are many shades and many colors, and the intensity of emotions all vary considerably. And we feel them individually and we feel them collectively. You know, as we move up towards this election, I feel that the collective emotional status of America is really shifting. Very interesting. This is a non-stop flow. It goes on all the time, and if we were aware of it, we couldn't possibly bear it. So it's largely unconscious. And when emotions come to consciousness, well, this is a controversial issue, what a feeling is. But for this course, we are regarding a feeling as an emotion we're aware of. Next slide, please, Leader. So you've seen this, the bottom row of this chart before. It's in the video, how a stimulus evokes a sensation, which we then unconsciously appraise, and that leads to an action tendency and finally a behavior. But the hot piece about this slide is the box, that all of our appraisal is subject to what is normally known as personal history. That's to say, everything that's happened to us. The genes of your parents, epigenetic inheritance, the behaviors of your parents that you have inherited, your fetal experience and your childhood experience. All of that feeds into a package of values and beliefs and intentions, ideas that influence the way we respond to the sensations that come in. Next slide, please. You've seen this before, just flashing it on the screen again. It's in the Feeling Cards book, and it's going to be available to you as a slide in your breakout groups. It's something you'll become more familiar with, and please use these words along the way when we have our discussion as much as you can. You know, there are hundreds of feeling words in the English language alone, but this is a condensation to just about all the most important elements. You saw that in the video too, so I won't spend any more time with that. Do we have one more, Leader? I think for me, one more slide. Oh yeah, well, there it is, the feeling. You've had those, a simple tool, and we don't need to spend much time on that right now. Perhaps I should just say, you know, this is something that I started creating about 15 years ago. And it's had the input of about 50 people, all of them, virtually all of them, emotionally intelligent people. So it's not just me, this is a group effort. And you may find parts of it that you don't agree with, that's fine. We'd love to hear more about that too. And there will be parts that you feel are just right on. I hope you enjoy using them. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Leader. LaToya, you're up.
All right. So today we're asking, what is emotional intelligence? There's been some, many researchers will agree that emotional intelligence, the components of emotional intelligence are emotional literacy, self-awareness, emotional regulation, and social awareness of empathy, as well as socialization. The reason why these first four are boxed are because these are what we're going to be reviewing in the training. We're not going to touch so much on socialization, which is cultivating emotional intelligence through values, policy, and practice. So that will not be in this training. You can move on to the next slide. Emotional intelligence is valuable in the workplace, and especially in higher education, the field that we're in, understanding how your colleagues are impacted by the different emotions that they experience, as well as students. Um, for your colleagues, it's about, improving performance and employee satisfaction. Whereas, for students, it's understanding, their sense of belonging and contributing to it. It can also be associated with helping to be successful, in leadership and to minimize um, levels of conflict. And so it's an important topic because it impacts us every day. And so we just want to make sure that we're aware of what emotional intelligence is and how it impacts us every day. Next slide.
This training is based on a review of the literature about best practices for teaching emotion and teaching empathy. And these are the elements of what we're going to engage in during the next hour. In the university, we have been so cognitive, so thinky for so long. In fact, emotions were regarded as a distraction or a bias until not very long ago. And so the best practices for teaching emotion, not surprisingly, are more experiential and not cognitive. We're not looking for what you think or what you have read or been told, but actually what you feel and what you experience with us here in this training, but also in your daily life. Face-to-face interaction is regarded as essential, not surprisingly. It's difficult to actually practice emotional intelligence when you're just talking about it. So we need to look at each other and talk to each other. And we'll be doing plenty of that during this training. That will include listening, careful listening, active listening, body mindfulness. We can't do a whole lot of body mindfulness together on camera, but we want to draw attention all along the way to actually how these different feelings are in your body. What happens? Because emotions are primarily the language of the body that we become aware of, and we embellish, and we act out, of course. Self-reflection is another element, and you have been asked to start a journal, and please do. You don't have to show it to anyone. It doesn't have to be in words even. You can do it in pictures or clippings from newspapers, whatever you do. But do try to track the process. That's going to be important as we move forward. Cultural competence and humility goes without saying, and at Walden, we know that very well. A consistent language, that's another one that is called upon in the literature. You have to be using the words that we all agree upon, that we all understand. And so the feeling cards, again, are an attempt, and the taxonomy too, to bring us into common language, at least for our conversations in this training. We have added, and I say we, this was Liam Schultz and I and Sandra and Judy Blakely all worked on this. We've added one that isn't in the literature, and that's participatory. I come from public health, and we do a lot of participatory research there, which means you work with the people who you are trying to reach and teach. So this training was developed with faculty and staff, and we are asking for you who attend this training to please give us your feedback. We value that, and there'll be opportunities both in the pre and post test and TLE, that's leaders assessment, after each session. Please help us to do it better. Okay, leader, LaToya, we're over to you again.
All right, if we could. So again, this session, we will be doing some exercises on emotional literacy. This is where we are looking to have fun with these exercises and to explore just understanding what emotion is. If we could move on to the next slide, what will be we'll have a plenary session group, and that session will be recorded, but our small groups won't be recorded. And so again, as the saying goes, what stays, what happens in the group or what's shared in the group stays in the group. We just want you to just get an understanding of learning to talk about emotions, and so we'll be using some exercises that have to do with pictures. We'll also be doing exercises that will actually be using the feeling cards that you received. So again, this is about having some fun and learning, how to express emotions just based on, again, some pictures or through a situation. And we just want everybody to feel comfortable with sharing. So as we move into exercise 2, we are going to be breaking out into small groups. And with those small groups, there will be a moderator there who will have some images. As you can see on the screen, you can kind of see, there may be a picture of some bugs on a leaf or, a forest. And you'll be going through those pictures, and each group member will just kind of using the taxonomy, just identify, what feeling that particular image brings, and then just have a group discussion about that. You may not get through all of the images that are listed there, but of the ones that you do, just have a really good group discussion. And once you feel like you've addressed that picture or image enough, you can move on to the next. And if time permits, we can also talk about, we want to be talking about positive images, but if time permits, we can also discuss what that alternative emotion is. So as we prepare to head into our groups, we'll just need to make sure that we have our facilitator slides so that we have those images and just get started on the discussion for exercise 2.
Okay, thanks. So, oh, that's just the taxonomy.
Oh, and this you'll see this in your group, the taxonomy when you're talking about the different pictures. Again, you can talk about those emotions that picture brings out using this taxonomy.
All right, with that, are we ready to open up our groups?
Yeah.
All right. So you will see a little notification on the screen that you have been assigned to a breakout room, and I'm going to open up the rooms right now, and we will have 10 minutes. Here we go. All right, it looks like LaToya, you still have to enter room 1. Did you see the pop-up?
You're on mute, LaToya.
And then Deborah Davenport also.
It pushed me back to the group. I was in
Oh.
the middle of talking. How do I get back to it? I was
Let's
in group 1.
It should, let me see. It's gonna let me well, huh.
Oh.
I'm not sure how to do that actually. So what I'm gonna pop you in a different room, and then I'll pop you back out of that room. I think that might be how I need to do it. So
Okay.
unless Matt, you know of a faster way, but let me just do it this way.
Yeah, I don't see another way.
Matt, do you want to join the on-camera group?
I think I'm gonna wait to see where Lita puts me.
Okay.
See where the help's needed.
Didn't
Matt,
put me back to group 1.
that's so weird. I don't know why well, you should be in group 1.
Right.
But it didn't. Can we go to group 2? I'm going to push you in group 2 again, and then push you back into group 1. I don't know why it's doing this.
And click join, right? There
Click.
we go.
Nicoletta, are you going to lead this on-camera group? You're on mute, yeah, by the way.
And I am going to stay off camera because I'm going to pop in the rooms and make sure LaToya is back again.
And Lita, this is Denise. Am I in one of the groups, or I don't
Denise,
see my name?
I might need to put you in group 1 if that works.
Denise is on camera, leader. She's going to join the group who are right here.
It just kicked me back out of the group. I'm not sure why.
I think Denise, I'm going to put you in group 1 because we don't have a moderator in there. And then LaToya, do you want to take over for Denise on camera here?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Denise, I'm going to do group 1. There you go.
So will I be the moderator in there, or is that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hold on a sec. Denise
Oh.
hasn't really been briefed on being moderator. Leader. She's just volunteered to join the plenary session.
Judith just joined. Did somebody just put Judith in room 1?
I see her name there.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
It seems that room 1 has a lot of people in it. Did you have a limit set on how many people were in each room?
Each room is going to have 3 participants and some rooms have 4. The reason why room 1 is looking full is because we still have LaToya listed and Denise. And Judith. Oh, actually, Judith, I promised Judith I wouldn't put her on the spot like that. So that's just great. So yeah, Judith is leading that room. I'm going to have to put somebody in with Judith because she reached out to me. So, let me hop in the room and just make sure she's doing okay. One sec.
Okay.
So can we share the images now here in the plenary so we can have a group here?
Yes. Do you want me to I'll post them in the chat box. Would that be fine?
If we can see it, so long as we can see it.
I think you'd have to pull them up, or I could share them on the screen if you want.
That would
Let's
be
share them
great,
on the screen.
I have the group 1 invite on my screen. Should I wait on joining that group 1? This is Denise.
Denise, you're okay here.
Okay, so I'll just say not now then.
There'll be more of us than, so long as we have enough moderators spread around. That's the
Is this the slide that you wanted, Michael?
yeah, there's any one we can start with. So
Okay. Let's start at the top.
okay. So I think you just shout out whatever emotions come to mind when you look at this. Say
Calm.
cold,
Calm,
peace,
warmth. If that's
Pressure.
not really one of the emotions, though, I guess.
I would say happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if
I agree with
peace.
I know somebody who would say scary, frightening, who doesn't swim.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If someone doesn't swim, they may be afraid. And then it also looks like it's about to get dark. So some people may find that a bit frightening to be out on the water after dark.
Huh.
Yeah. But there's also, if you are not afraid and you do fish, that's an exciting time because the fish are starting to come up to feed. So they might grab the bait.
Contentment too. Sometimes that can be real relaxing just to sit and watch
Hear
the sunrise and hear the birds and
the water and
yeah.
And maybe hope too. We don't know really if it's like a sunrise or a sunset, maybe more of a sunset, but
good point.
hope.
Yeah.
A new day.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. That one makes me feel tingly.
And maybe even delight because of the beauty, when you're looking at the sunrise or sunset.
Okay, let's move on.
we make them just a little bit bigger?
Mm.
Is that good enough?
Yep. This one is just, to me, is just interesting of how things connect together, So if I were to use, a phrase or an emotion, it would be interest. How are those different things connecting to make, I think that's a clock, but, that's kind of what I feel when I'm looking at that.
And connection.
Connection is good.
Mhm.
What else? Michael?
What else? Confusion, because I'm not much of a, how machines work guy. So
Right, right.
maybe
Mhm.
amazement.
Hmm.
That's not in the taxonomy, but it is pretty amazing how it works.
I would say steady too. It's something that, again, I'm imagining this being a clock. It could be something else, but it's that steady, consistent timing that you would get with that. So
It for me, my feeling would be interest. It kind of piques my interest because I'm wondering how it works, but I'm also wondering what it is
Mhm.
because it's just a snippet
Mhm.
of the whole device.
yeah.
Curiosity kind of goes with that
Curiosity,
too.
that's a great one. Yeah. Yeah.
What does it do?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because when I first saw this, I thought work. That's a
Mm,
healing word. But as I'm listening and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it and looking at my little taxonomy, irritation is the thing that keeps coming up,
mm,
Ah,
which might be related to, my initial thought, but the feeling is time's ticking by, it's work. There
Mm.
never seems to be enough time.
That's good. That's good.
And it's also interesting to me anyway, that kindness is the opposite on the taxonomy. And that's often the way that I am able to work through or overcome just that irritation with work, is to just
Mhm.
kind of focus on slowing down. Where can I find that peaceful kindness? Where can I find the first slide?
right.
It's usually right behind me. So,
The opposite of interest, which is what I thought on a taxonomy list, says rejection.
mm,
So I guess that means if, you know, I found it interesting, but the opposite of that being rejection,
Mm.
not finding it interesting, um, just wanting to move away from it, get rid of it,
Mm.
something like that, maybe.
mm.
Okay.
There's so many different ways to experience these visceral responses.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Ooh,
mm.
I don't know if it's on there, but chaos comes to mind.
goodness.
Mhm.
I don't have a positive emotion about this one. For me, it would be fear.
Mm.
Fear.
Despair, and that positive emotion is hope, and maybe hope that you get through that situation, if I
That's
had to look at
good.
it. Yeah.
That's really good. Um, but yeah, because it looks like it's storming. It's dark. It looks scary.
Yeah.
I actually feel, this is a painting. It's quite a famous painting. I feel awe when I look at that because I do a bit of painting and that's a mighty skilled piece of work.
Michael, do you know the name of the painting?
I'm sorry. Some National Gallery, I think,
Mm.
from my childhood.
It reminds me of surrender.
I was
Surrender
going to
is
say
the hope.
defeat.
Well, I'm seeing a halo around the little guy second to the right. I'm wondering if this is a painting of, you know, Jesus in the boat where they're in the middle of the squall and all he's, you know, how can you sleep when this is happening? When I first saw this, I thought, whee! Because I don't like rides like this at all. So
I think of maybe vulnerability, like the, you know, the power of the ocean, the water and the storm.
yeah.
But they're kind of trying to fight against and survive. But
And hang
they're pretty
on.
vulnerable.
Cling to safety.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, safety would be, yes, like how do you find safety? They're kind of huddled together in a sense, trying to find some safety together.
Yeah.
But the one person is trying to pull the sail, you know, keep the boat steady.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Let's try and do one more.
Ooh.
Brave.
Playful, maybe, I guess, if you could look at it that way.
That's what I thought of too. It's like, this is a choice. This person is making a choice to do this.
And the people who are watching are hopefully feeling excited, awe, or scared for him. You know, it could be a number of.
One of the words on taxonomy says bold. That one comes to mind too. I mean, you would have to have a bold personality to be able to do something like this, I would think.
And even the person that's behind, you know, I'm thinking almost scared because
I
he's
was
hiding
watching
behind.
him. Yes, I'm looking at him watching.
Michael, will we be using these same slides for future presentations? No.
That's not the plan at the moment.
Okay.
All right. It looks like everyone is back from your sessions, and we did have a few hiccups, so I do apologize for that. But that's part of this, and making sure we do better next time. If you all could, we just want to say, how do you feel about this exercise for everyone who came out of the group sessions? You've had some discussions about the pictures that you reviewed. What do you think? How was this exercise for you? We can open it up to the room.
I can start. This is Ebony. I am surprised in some ways, not having really thought about it in depth before, how different, how the same picture or visual can evoke such different emotions from what other people are feeling when they see the very same thing. I've not been aware of that.
Absolutely. I think that's all a part of it. I completely agree with you, Ebony. This is Nicoletta. I was thinking the same thing, how one image can evoke different emotions in different people, depending on your background, your skill level, things that you have experienced in your life. So I agree with that.
Anyone else want to share?
I felt my interpretation was like affected by my recent experiences from 1 year ago. Like, you know, one picture maybe like joyful to someone, but it reminded me of a horror movie I just recently watched with my kids. By recently, I mean 6 to 8 months ago.
Mhm.
So I just felt that, our experiences from up to 1 year ago, I felt were impacting our interpretation.
That's a great point. I mean, you don't really think about how when something just kind of pops up, how those past experiences will impact just the feeling that you get. It could be visceral, it could be joy, it could be, all of those things. And so, anyone else want to share?
I was also going to share that the activity definitely can give or take as to how long you spend on a picture. You first look at it, there's the initial thought, but then there's that opportunity to dig deeper and to talk more about why and how that brings out that emotion.
Mhm.
I think so too. I think it was fascinating to me, and we had 4 people in our group, and the idea of not just of knowing that other people felt something different than I did, and then if the longer we talked, if someone said something, I thought, oh, I could see why that would feel that way for them, so that exchange I thought was lovely.
Yeah. Anyone else? And you when you're looking at this, I mean, just kind of think about it not being a picture. It could be a phone conversation, and you having those phone conversations. I think about my role as a student success advisor. Sometimes what's on the surface or what I'm thinking is about to happen, it may take a completely different direction based on how long that conversation goes on and how long we continue to interact in that conversation. So just like these images, people come to the table with different things, and different emotions, and how you react to the, positive or negative could also be how the other person in the room or persons in the room also react.
Similar to that, you mentioned phone conversations. For me, I don't have as many phone conversations, for example, as you probably do because I'm faculty, but I do a lot of email. A lot of email, and I think email has the ability to evoke different emotions in us as well, based on could be based on the way that we're feeling that day, or it could be the tone of the email, and sometimes it may invoke an emotion in us that may not even be the intent of the sender, depending on what they say. So that's another example of the way our emotions come out.
Exactly. So keeping in that same vein, if we're moving on, we're going to move into exercise 3, which we're going to be dealing with with a specific situation. So the facilitators or moderators in your group will select a particular scenario, and each group will kind of go through together to discuss it. And now we're giving a specific situation. And so we're looking at it, and we're going to be actually using the cards where everyone will choose 3 cards based on what they initially see in that situation. And you're going to quickly, if I pick 3 cards, you're going to quickly flash them on the screen and say, oh, I chose this card because of X and this card because of this. So you want to select 3 and share them with your group. And then just kind of go through each of the tasks that are directed. We want to see if we can positively resolve whatever that situation is. So you may have to pull out 2 more cards to help, positively, resolve that situation. And if we have time, we can also talk about, who might feel that way in a particular situation and consider the reasons why. So we have a lot to kind of get through in these next 15 or so minutes. So if we could, let's go ahead and get into those breakout groups.
Group 1 was very large last time, Leader. Maybe you could reallocate one. Oh, Oh, I see, they're shaded out. Maybe that wasn't so large.
It popped up for me to join room 1. Should I stay here on camera or go to room 1?
Why don't you stay, Denise?
Okay.
Yeah, we just have the same groups. So I think we're in groups now. And Anne, have you got a situation for us?
I do. This is one that's, I think, a good one. The chair, and do you want me to read it or do you want me
Yeah.
to? Okay. The chair and a doctoral student whose behavior has been perceived as defiant. That's the general theme. A graduate student in the doctoral program is in the final stages of their dissertation. They tell the committee chair they are feeling overwhelmed by their day job, just got divorced, and they're planning to quit. The chair believes in the student, the mentee, and encourages them to find a way to stay and complete the doctoral journey.
So who's feeling what in this situation?
When I'll start, I'm feeling a great deal of empathy for the student. It goes beyond believing in them. I wonder what they're afraid of. I think, well, I don't think, but I've experienced my own fear just before I finished my dissertation. And, that fear of success. And so the amount of empathy that I feel when I read this and I consider students that I've had that are in these situations is just overwhelming sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the student feeling? What do we think the student is feeling?
It could be deep fatigue.
Mhm.
Fatigue. I was thinking defeat. The student might feel defeat.
Especially going through a divorce. I mean, we
Mm.
don't know all that background and how that's playing. Yeah, could be defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And they're overwhelmed. That overwhelmed.
That was
And it could be maybe rejection, depending on if they got some difficult feedback from faculty and then they're going through the divorce. That might kind of interweave together.
Yeah, that can cause their breaking point, if you will.
They become hopeless. I know that's, or despair. I think that was mentioned instead of
Despair. That's a good
yeah.
one.
The student is also described as having appeared to be defiant. Now, how does that play into it?
I think they might be feeling their humility, that their defiance might be a way of expressing their pride in their work, and it seems that they might be feeling that overwhelmed with all of this stuff. They can't control it, they're out of control, and they can't keep all of the balls in the air at one time.
And may become defensive, like to
defensive and defiant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me is where they might be feeling fear and maybe a little anger.
I think they may also feel a sense of disappointment. Perhaps in, their work product, and as well as, what they're going through personally.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And maybe shame if things are not going well as
You know, I
well.
was thinking that too. The word that came to my mind was embarrassment, but
Mhm.
shame, definitely.
So
Definitely.
how do you, Nicoletta, as a faculty person, respond? How do you move forward? Oh, wait a minute, we didn't draw any cards, did we?
You know
But-
what?
I was
I was
looking
look-
at them.
I've been looking at my book.
I'm looking through my cards, but I'm also looking at, I'm using the taxonomy
Mhm.
sheet because it's easier for me to scan it.
Yeah.
But I guess we're supposed to draw the card. Are we supposed to like hold them up so we can show the picture of the card? The image on the card?
I don't know how well that works. Try it.
This is the one for despair. And see, I don't even
Mm,
trying to it doesn't
yeah.
a little bit. It doesn't
No.
I
Shame
can't
is
get it
kind
on
of
there.
here. I don't know if you can. Let's see.
Can't
Maybe
get it
It's
on there.
not showing up. It's a little tricky to get it.
vulnerability.
There we
Mhm.
go.
That's not working.
It's not working too good.
There we go.
I tried
Vulnerability.
it.
So that was my question. How do you move forward? What do you choose in the way emotionally in order to advance the situation, resolve it?
Ultimately, the ultimate goal is the success of the student. Sometimes it can be a little difficult when students are defiant, but I definitely would try my best to encourage them. I would not, absolutely not want them to give up on the program. So I just would, chat with them. Sometimes I try to send students motivational emails with little quotes and letting them know you can do this, you know I'm here for you, you need to talk, um that sort of thing. I am a pretty spiritual person, and if I have students that I try not to necessarily impose my spirituality or Bible verses or anything like that on students, but some students, just through conversations and emails that we exchange, I can tell that they're very prayerful. If they are a very prayerful, I'm getting tongue tied, but a prayerful person, and a believer in God, I look up Bible verses, that sort of thing. I've had students, they have death in the family, that sort of thing, or they're sick. So I send them Bible verses about healing and, finding peace and that sort of thing. So that's what I've, done in the past.
Mm.
And they seem to appreciate that.
Mm.
And so what about you, Michael? What do you do?
I'm practicing compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, as a younger man, I was pretty judgmental, and I've come around over the years to seeing that compassion is a really powerful emotion, which is, close to empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And, but that's not to say I might not feel underneath that, some irritation, frustration,
Mm-hmm.
working with, like, I'm trying not to give that the priority, and also curiosity, just like asking questions a little bit more. How are you managing? I are you able to get any work done? Is it just too much at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
So I would, have a face-to-face with the student if they would meet me and take that approach.
Sometimes they may just need a break. It may not be that they need to give up 100%, but sometimes they may just need a break. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're afraid to take that break because they are afraid they won't come back, but that really, it makes more sense to think about taking the break and not having to make that really permanent decision,
Right.
and kind of help them walk through, maybe, you know, depending on what else is going on, and kind of talk about it. You're in it, you know, for the long game. And so if part of that means taking a short break and then thinking about what else you can do in that break to stay connected, though.
I think
That-
it depends on where they are. In
Mhm.
this scenario, they're in the final stages of the dissertation, and it might be possible
Yeah.
to take that short break. Earlier on, it might be a different
Mhm.
different
Yes.
conditions. I think there's honor and dignity in giving them a chance to talk, letting them know that that it's safe to talk and to share.
I think we're back already. Is this leader change the slide? So I think maybe the groups
We will be probably in less than 15 seconds.
Oh, there you go.
2 shakes of a dog's tail.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. That was interesting. Talking not only about emotions but strategies. Mm. LaToya, you're on mute.
All right, can you hear me? Sorry about that. I was going to say we're welcome back from discussion 3, where we utilized the feeling cards to understand a specific situation. In our group, we selected the situation of Kay and her supervisor, where Kay was concerned about how she feels like she's doing more work than her colleagues, and you know, and the supervisor's response was, well, there's not anything that I can do. And so we pulled out cards in our group to discuss. And, you know, I guess if we have enough time to kind of go around and just kind of say, how did you feel about this particular exercise? Not necessarily what your group's responses were, but what did you think about the particular exercise and the feelings that invoked?
It's helpful to sometimes have another outside perspective than your own for certain scenarios, because you may be interpreting it one way and it may not be that interpretation.
Okay. Would someone from our group kind of share what their thoughts were on not necessarily the situation, but on that exercise?
Yeah, so for me, and you probably noticed my initial question was, okay, immediately the thought came up of from whose perspective, whose emotions are we, kind of trying to recognize or identify, right? Whereas, yeah, I mean, it could just be, whatever comes up for you first, right? Whatever dominates your kind of experience of hearing about the situation. But I think that was something that came up for me, is like, I immediately thought, from whose perspective are we discussing this?
Mm-hmm. And that's important. It's an important endeavor to think about when you have a specific situation happening, or in whatever manner that it happens, email, phone, face to face. There are always, there's always an emotion, whether it's your own or someone else's, or that you have to kind of navigate and understand. Anyone else have any insights on how this exercise went for you?
I appreciated what you said, LaToya, when we were talking about I mean, like you're saying, seeing it from different perspectives, but also like recognizing that we have a knee-jerk reaction to things and that sometimes we have to stop and adjust and, consider the other side of it. So like with this example with the manager, considering like maybe the manager didn't know what to do. And so they said, I can't do anything in that moment, but maybe they're going to come back around and have a solution to the problem.
In the group that I was in, we were looking at the sense of belonging scenario, and that's the faculty who is doing a great job providing feedback for the student, wishing there was a bit more community of care to the way the communication was going. What struck me listening to all of us was that oftentimes we picked a card that applied to both people, the student and the teacher, the faculty in different ways. And that I didn't think about that going in, that they both might be feeling irritated or they both might be feeling disappointed, or they both, different things. That was interesting to me rather than pinning it on or aligning it with one person, all of a sudden it became evident in listening to the people in the group. And then in my thinking that these same emotions could be in the same people, only in different ways.
We have 1 minute left. Lida, could we stop the slides for a moment? For this session. Before each of these modules, you're asked to do some homework, and they get progressively tougher or deeper as we move on. Already next week is going to be more demanding, more challenging, I should say. And please do it. Do those exercises before we arrive, and they'll set you up for the exercises that we do as a part of the module itself. And then just last little housekeeping. If anyone, I know a couple of people didn't get their feeling cards. I had to send 2 extra boxes out. I hope those of you who are involved will get them before next week. Please do the OTLE leaders assessment, the poll that comes directly after we finish. That's valuable information for us. Not only generally about the presentations, but something about feelings as well. And thank you all so much for showing up. It was a pretty good first time. Thanks for all the moderators. You did great. And LaToya,
can't wait to see you next week to continue learning more about the different aspects of emotional intelligence. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.